Hey, hey, it's Thursday. It's 3 p.m. Eastern. We're doing a core talk today with Kelley Raleigh. And we're going live. I don't know why my doorbell just rang, it's live. So we're just going to flow with it and go with it. Hey, Kelley. Kelley's here. So I'm going to bring her in. She's requesting to join. Okay, great. Wait for her, waiting for her, waiting for her. Hello.
Hi.
Hey girl, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. You look great. It's 12
Thank
o'clock.
you. So do you. I love that we have makeup on in our conversations today.
Got to put the makeup on. I did a talk with this woman, Sarah Shirley, and she talked about that. She was like, you need to prep for anything you're doing. You put your makeup on, you're going to feel better, just like a good CEO preps before their day. I mean, it was very interesting. So yes, to the makeup, even though, whatever. How are you doing? So you're good. You're in LA, right?
Yep.
In
In
the
Los Angeles, in the thick of a bunch of craziness, but we're here and we're enjoying our summer. That's what we're doing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So one of the things, we're talking today about brain training. A lot of people don't know what that is. I just want to note that earlier this week or last week, I had a call, or we did a core talk that disappeared, with a breathwork practitioner, Lisa Mehta. And Lisa's breathwork, the type of breathwork that she practices, is super, super active. And we were talking about how, she's like, it's like Pilates. It's like this form where you show up, you have to be involved, you have to be doing, you have to be present. And that's how I teach my work. And I was composing my email to talk about all of this, and I'll be going back to it after we talk. How we need both in wellness. We need, oh, you're spinning. I don't know why.
I can hear you.
I know it's spinning. I don't know why. What's happening?
I don't know. It froze. You froze, but I can hear you.
Okay. And now your face was weird, but anyways, we're coming back to it. So that you need both in wellness. You need the active physical doing and the receiving and allowing, and the brain training. So one can think of brain training in several forms, but the brain training that you practice and that I've experienced with you is more of a passive, I don't want to say passive, but an allowing, and this allowing can really shift us into great places. So I want to hear from you how you found Neuroptimal is the brain training form that you use. What is brain training to you? How did you find it? And what's your experience and why do you practice that? And yeah, just let's start there on how you found it and why you're doing it.
Well, and let me just add, you said passive, and it is passive. This is a completely passive experience. You don't have to be doing anything for the brain training to actually work with Neurooptimal. So I'll just clear that up.
Yeah.
I'll just add to what you were saying.
Yeah.
So I found this about a year ago. Yeah. I mean, we're in July, so a little over a year ago. And a friend introduced me to it because she was kind of like searching for all these biohacking modalities and just kind of like entrenched in the world of biohacking and neurohacking, or brain hacking. And then she just kept telling me there's this one modality that she loves. And she kept saying Neurooptimal, and it's so great. And it's like kind of like a spa day for your brain. And it's funny, she said that to me. And then one of my clients, I don't know, a few months ago, woke up like out of the session because she fell asleep, and she's like, you got to tell people this is like a spa day for your brain. I'm like, yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
I love it.
So yeah, I tried it on my own. I went to a brain trainer in Burbank because they're all over the world. And so I just looked up on the Neurooptimal website. I was reading everything I could about it. The two founders are two clinical psychologists, a man and a woman, and they happen to be married. And they created it, started working on this in the 90s. I can get back to the history of it in a second, but how I found it was my friend, I started doing tons of research, and if anybody knows anything about my husband at all, he will do a deep dive on whatever he loves. And so he's kind of like my research assistant
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he will do the deep dive.
I love that.
And then I went and had a session with a brain trainer in Burbank. And then my friend who was telling me about it got the machine too. And I started doing it with her. And because it is an easy, simple thing. So this is not an elaborate, somebody has to diagnose you. There's no manipulation. So we're not putting something in the brain. So we don't have to like, you know, set it up to be a certain way. So I was able to do it with her machine. And then a few months later decided this is hands down changing my life, my husband's life, my friend's life. I'm reading all the testimonials on the website and I'm like, I need to be doing this a lot for myself. And I want to be like sharing this with other people. So we bought a machine and I turned it into a business. And like, I never in a million years thought that I would have. And it's been like relatively easy. I mean, I think LA is more used to like trying the new, like latest, like hip cool thing.
Yes.
You know, you don't get much of that outside of, you know, Southern California.
Yes.
But it was just kind of easy, like trying it on my friends, seeing how they liked it. And then it was like referral after referral after referral. And next thing you know, I've got like a fully functioning like business of people like doing it every week, doing it every day, doing it once a month, whatever. And for various reasons and seeing steady results. And it's blowing my mind. I mean, it just kind of is.
That's awesome. So I want to backtrack because you mentioned the term biohacking. You mentioned the term, first of all, machine. So for people who don't even know anything about this, I don't even like the term biohacking. I don't even really know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't define that for you. So if you can talk about what that is, and then also talk about the Neuroptimal actually is a machine that you need. You can't really do this on your own. And you attach, you know, so if you can tell us what those things are. So what is biohacking?
So, I mean, biohacking could be anywhere from, you know, using like getting a genetic test and seeing what, you know, foods are specifically like optimal for your body and only eating those and working through that. You know, biohacking can also be using red light therapy. Like we have an infrared sauna in our house. You know, it's really just, it's more than just like going to work out and going to a doctor. It's really like taking technology that can get rid of inflammation, that can, you know, help your mitochondria, that can, you know, support your heart, that can clean your lymphatic system, all of those kinds of things. And I mean, yes, Southern California is kind of known for all that stuff, but there's places that you can go and you can do all of that.
Yes.
I even went and tried, you know, some different things and, you know, it's all really cool. And it just kind of depends on what your body needs. Like I don't need certain things, but other people may. So that's biohacking. Neurofeedback.
Yes.
This has been going, I mean, this has been around what I'm going to say the wrong year, but like the 50s, like it's been going on a very long time. And there's different kinds of neurofeedback. There's direct neurofeedback, which is the traditional kind that if somebody's familiar with neurofeedback, they know what that is. It is a manipulation of the brain. You've been diagnosed with something, an addiction, OCD, bipolar, something, you know, a little more than the average, like anxiety, you know, situation. A clinician, a psychologist, or a psychiatrist will diagnose you and set up the system to be specific to your brain. So there's going to be a suppressing or an augmenting of certain parts of your brain, certain frequencies or certain sections of your brain, depending on what kind you're using. There's so many different kinds. I am not well versed in it. I couldn't talk about them if you want me to. But Neurooptimal, and those are all machines as well. So you would be hooked up to different things. Neurooptimal is an indirect. It's dynamical and it's nonlinear. So there's no diagnosis. I'm not a clinical psychologist. This is created by two clinical psychologists that wanted to make this available for the average person. So this is very user-friendly and it's not, you don't need a diagnosis, like I said, and we're not manipulating the brain in any way. I can actually show you what the machine looks like.
Yes, please.
I'm in my office, so this is
Okay.
how it's all set up. So this is just like a video kind of graphics that you can watch. You don't have to.
Okay.
This, when you turn it on, this is the client name. These are the dates of your sessions. And there will be what's called a matrix mirror. And it really just shows all the different colors of frequencies of your brain that are going on in the moment. This is the little amp that everything goes into. And these are the electrodes.
Wow.
So those, I mean, you've experienced this, and then you can listen to it through headphones. So you listen to music. It's very simple. It's very relaxing music. And then you put these electrodes on, 2 on your head and 3 on your ear as kind of a grounding. And 256 times a second, these sensors pick up the frequency on your outer part of your brain. The sensors are here. And it shoots it in through this amp and then sends it back to your brain. Again, 256 times a second. It is very real-time feedback. And it just simply tells your brain what it's doing. It tells your brain what frequency it's operating at. It's a mirror. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. And it's just constantly doing that. A session's 33 minutes, so that entire time you're listening to music and your brain is getting trained. So it's getting trained to become more resilient and adaptable and organized and efficient.
Wow.
So kind of like how your brain's naturally designed to be and how it's naturally designed to work with the central nervous system, that's what this is training it to get back to. So go ahead.
So I was just going to say, like, it's just for people to understand, because I know when I did the session, I sort of got what you were talking about. I will say that, the results, well, my story with actually hearing about it through you, first I had heard about neurofeedback from my business coach because her fiance had tremors after a surgery, okay? And they couldn't figure it out. They had no idea what was going on. Her body was just going into these weird tremors. So they were trying all sorts of things. They didn't know what it was. It was trauma in her brain, which she didn't really know. So I want to talk about the trauma piece as well. And they did neurofeedback on her brain and they stopped. The trauma stopped. And they could see, and to deepen what you were talking about, the direct neurofeedback, the doctors can see what's going on. You can't, I don't know if you can see which parts of the brain is being highlighted. You can
I can see the frequencies that are more active, but I'm not doing anything with it.
Right. And so so they would work with those pieces of her. It's like, oh, you're actually in a hyper traumatic, zone right now, just sitting here, So then they did that and the tremors went away. Then my business coach, she did it, didn't have any physical issues, but she did it. And she said to me, Denise, because of your anxiety, she's known me for years, I highly recommend you do neurofeedback because it is miraculous with anxiety. Literally like a week and a half later, you're like, I'm going to start doing this Neuroptimal thing. And I knew it was connected. And I'm like, okay, I have to try this. So when I did it at your house, obviously one session I don't think is totally enough. I didn't fully understand it. But something that what you and your husband said, like Eric was like, every time he does it, it's like when he does it, he's just in, it's like he feels like he went to the spa, or he feels like he just got a deep massage. And now his whole system is aligned and you're sitting there for 33 minutes and not doing anything. I knew I didn't have to do anything. So I wanted to talk about that and just talk a little bit more about, it's the results, I think, that are the most potent part of this, because it's very hard to understand. So can you talk a little bit about results? You talked a little bit about that, but maybe clients that you've had what's happened in their life doing this, and maybe one client that you want to specifically focus on.
I mean, honestly, I have so many clients that have like an amazing success story and they're still doing it, or they've like taken a break, or actually one girl has actually bought her own machine. She lives a little bit further away from me and she was loving it so much and we were having, such great progress. She's like, I'm going to do this every day. So she actually bought her own machine, which I'm like, that's fantastic. Do it. Like, I'm fine. Like I would sell machines all day,
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked with people that actually one woman, she's like 71, 72. She's been coming since end of December. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I don't know, in that summer, like late, a few months prior. She was coming every week. Sometimes she would do 2 sessions a day because you can do 2 sessions a day. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do any more than that. It's a lot of working out. And she'd done almost 20 sessions. And then obviously, we had the quarantine. So I knew that she was going in for a brain scan in March. I saw her a couple weeks ago and I'm like, how did that brain scan go? And the doctor found, oh, well, maybe we misdiagnosed you. You really only have dementia right now, which is my understanding of all that, which is a loose understanding, is that dementia is kind of the umbrella over certain, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, certain, very specific brain things that are more acute.
Mm-hmm.
And I already knew that she, was starting to see her friends again because she was self-isolating in the fall. So she was starting to get out and see her friends again. Her friends were just like shocked. She was having better memory recall, better speech recall. I mean, I was noticing it when she was walking in.
Wow.
And that was just after 3 sessions. I mean, she did, almost 20 before the quarantine. And she told me she never slept through the night. Even since she was a little kid, she's always woken up a bunch. After I think it was the 3rd or 4th session, she literally has slept through the night and still continues to sleep completely through the night.
Wow.
Which that alone, sleeping through the night, and I mean, we are moms of small children, so we know getting 8 hours of sleep can change everything.
Wow.
So that is one huge piece. Like that is one, I mean, I don't know that much about dementia and Alzheimer's and what the brain scan said and what it said before, so I'm not going to claim that this did anything, but I just feel like, wow, for that diagnosis to be pulled back is kind of huge.
Miraculous, yeah.
And so I just want to know more about that. There was a guy who had vestibular migraines, was diagnosed in September. He started doing sessions in December as well. Came twice a week, 2 or 3 times a week for, I don't know, 5-6 weeks. And after the first session, his symptoms of being dizzy, of having eye pain and migraines went down, he said, like by 75%. And then after that, he didn't actually have any more symptoms and was starting to reach out to his friends again, was starting to become like literally finished creating a business that he was already like wanting to do and got like his dream job. I mean, that's kind of like a crazy example, but I mean, it happened, right? Like He was so confident in himself. Now he knew what he wanted. He got rid of his physical symptoms that were holding him back, his insecurities, and he's like, I'm talking to like people at the grocery store now. Like I'm chatting and I'm like friendly and he's a very friendly guy to begin with, but just coming out of his shell.
Wow.
And then, I mean, I could go on. I just had a mom tell me, she's been bringing her 8-year-old girl and they had some reading issues, ADHD, dyslexia issues. And the little girl, I think, has done 22 sessions at this point. And her teacher was like, what are you guys doing? What is happening?
Wow.
She is reading so amazing right now. The mom just told me this last week. And they're like, oh yeah, we've been doing Neurooptimal. And I've noticed that the girl's more in control of her body and doesn't have that. Yeah, because ADHD, you're kind of all over. Yeah. And I've noticed in the last few weeks that she's less of that and having a lot more focus. And now her reading is like so on par. I mean, she's 8 and she's reading really well. Like, it's things like that. I mean, I could go on. I mean, honestly, I could go on. I mean, I know what it's done for me, and I'm just like, I'm in awe of it. I really am.
Yep. I think it's amazing, and a choice for us to realize, especially for people who feel extremely overwhelmed, especially right now with anxiety, with not knowing what to do, being able to pause for 33 minutes, finding that time. This could be a great solution to finding just that use the term organization, like the brain to be able to just kind of reset. It reminds me of the Alexander technique. They call it a lie down. And I think that they say for 14 minutes, you lie on your back, you bend your knees, You plant your feet. You have a completely passive position. Your hands are in a certain place and you have like a tiny book under your head. But they say within that 14 minutes that the spine, like the nerves, the neurons in the spine and the fluid in the spine, the spinal fluid can recalibrate. And it's like a certain amount of time. And then you have a full energizing of your system just from doing that. And so I find it like it's like a similar thing. There's an organization that can happen through this feedback. And again, it's passive. But for those of us who are totally overwhelmed, who can't take on another thing, this would be a great thing. Now, the problem is, and I don't want to say problem, but the challenge, and maybe you can help with us on this, is how do we get to this? You know, obviously you're in LA, I'm here, like I can't access you. I know certain people do it. We are in a time of shelter in place. I don't even know. I just talked to friends who are in New York City, the Pilates studios there. You can get fined and, you know, like completely, like, I don't know if you can get arrested for just being in your studio. So I don't know what phase Neuroptimal people, I mean, obviously they could probably come to your home and sneak it out, but I don't know if anybody's doing it. But do you recommend, is there anything, and I want to end with a little suggestion from you too, because I know there's more to your work than just that piece. So that's part of it. And then there's also other work that has to do with trauma healing. And I do want to get to that in a second, but what would your suggestion be for us who want to do it and try it? Where would we go if we can't work with you?
There's a couple of things. There's brain trainers all over the world. So if I've had friends who are in Seattle, you know, Australia, etc., contact me and say, we want to do this. And there's, you can go to the neurooptimal.com website and you can look up, find a trainer. Okay. And usually their website, their contact information will be there and you can, you know, go from there. If you want to contact me, I can find someone for you and put you in contact with them. Happy to do it, truly. Okay. It's like, it's a game changer. This isn't about like, oh, everybody needs to come to me, and it's not that.
Right.
A lot of people do rental systems. I don't have a rental system, but a lot of people rent out a full machine. They are supposed to give you instructions on how to use it, and like it's a whole like self-contained program. So one other thing with this software, everything is contained and updated and serviced by Neurooptimal. So I'm not on my own with this. I have a full tech team that makes sure that everything is running smoothly. We do updates every week. And so this isn't like, oh, someone gave me a computer and now I can do it. This is a full like functioning software system that they created, and it is well maintained. That's the same with a rental. So again, if somebody wants to just contact me, direct message me, I can put you in contact with a brain trainer in your area. And they may or may not have a rental system. And not every place is in the same place, you know, like not every place is quarantined. So there's plenty of offices that are open that you can go and do it. I'm sure everyone uses the 70%, you know, alcohol swabs to clean all the sensors, to clean everything. I mean, that's not the issue because we've been doing that from day one. So I'm happy to meet with anybody and, you know, do the process, but, you know, it is available all over.
That's awesome. So really quickly in our last couple of minutes, if you can give us, we had talked about some little practice we can do on our own to help us with the organization, the healing, because obviously it's about having a buoyant and responsive brain, and when we're stuck in trauma or stuck in anxiety, we're not able to do that. So if you can give us your little exercise that you give your clients to have that second piece, that would be great.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we want to get out of our patterns. Obviously we know when things trigger us and we tend to go into reaction mode. This not only helps us get out of that reaction mode and look at it as like just a piece of information, but obviously you're not doing this 24/7. So when life is happening in between sessions, I encourage my clients to use this particular exercise. And so we do this with every session. I have people set an intention, and it could be an inner intention. I want to, you know, experience more peace. I want to feel more calm, or I do want to create a business. You know, it could be something outside of them. And so whatever that intention is, I have them then identify what their limiting beliefs are around that. whether that's society telling them. I've had some, heard limiting beliefs of like, I'm too young to really have any sort of wisdom. I'm too young to know anything, or I've never felt peaceful in my life. I don't really know what that feels like. Whatever those limiting beliefs are, vomit them out. Then we look at the self-forgiveness piece, and this is different than forgiveness for someone who did you wrong, forgiveness for, whatever. This is forgiveness for yourself and the judgments that you hold on yourself. And I think this is so vital. This is what my spiritual teacher always, taught us, is that we can hold the judgments against ourselves and they stay in our bodies and they can kind of wreak havoc. So we take those limiting beliefs and we put them into the sentence, I forgive myself for judging myself for buying into the belief that society thinks I'm not wise. I forgive myself for judging myself for thinking that I can't be peaceful. I forgive myself for judging myself for thinking that I'm dumb, whatever those judgments are. And you can do that throughout the day. I do it when I'm driving. I do it when I've just gotten annoyed at my son. Like, you can do those all the time. And then we, as any good practitioner, any good facilitator should do, you want to wrap it up in the positive, and you now start identifying the things you're grateful for. So I'm grateful that I have this self-awareness. I'm grateful that I, think of myself as intelligent. I'm grateful that I have the abilities that I do. And we all know what gratitude is. So, just run through those sentences, and, it's a few minute process. It doesn't have to be a big elaborate thing, but that exercise is really helpful throughout the day.
I love it. I love it. And if you can write those down, send it to me.
Yep.
I'd love to have that in the email. So thank you so much, Kelley, for
Thank
letting us know
you.
about brain training. And I'm so excited it's like talking to you reminds me that I would like to get that going again. So I got to
that I want you to do it there.
I know, maybe it's a rental. I don't know, but it's so awesome. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your practice at the end. I love that. I'd like to share that with my community. People can DM you either through Kelley Raleigh or kind.brain on Insta. And yeah, thank you so much. And I will see you soon. Yes, enjoy the rest of your LA day. You have more time than I do.
I do.
Thanks,
all right.
girl.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.